Hey guys, so welcome back to the channel. So this is our March project, which is going to be another table runner. We're doing table runners every other month. So Peggy sent this one over, and it's called the X Runner. Just X blocks that are in it, and she used all reds. I had a piece of a layer cake, so I cut my squares out of that, and I'll show you those in just a minute. So what you're going to need, what she says you're going to need, are 5 fabrics. From 3 colored prints, cut 8 4-inch squares and one 3.5 by 2.5, or I'm sorry, 25.25 strip, 25.25 strip. All right, and then from the 4th colored print, cut 4 4-inch squares. From the light background, you're going to need to cut 56 2.5-inch squares and two 1-inch by 50-inch strips. You'll probably need to piece those if your fabric is only 42 or 44 inches wide. I actually have a 108 that I'm using for my background, so that's what I cut mine at, so I'll be able to get the 50 inches out of mine because it's a 108 wide background. And yeah, so what I'm using, I have these cute little prints. They are from a layer cake that I had. It's got some little chickens. I thought this would make a great table runner because it's kind of kitchen themed, you know. Got some checkerboards. Let's see what else. There's some more chickens, little blue chickens. And then I think that, yeah, some sunflowers. So that's what I'm using. And then I got, my background is this linen. It looks kind of like linen. It's like a light gray. So I've got all of my 56 background squares. All right, so let's get into this. This is a really easy table runner, and if you've ever made an X block, it's just super easy. All we're basically going to be doing is snowballing the corners on our 4-inch squares. A lot of chain piecing, so it should be pretty quick. So let's get into it. Now you can mark the back of your printed square or your background squares if you want to. I've got the diagonal seam tape on my machine, so I'm just going to use that. And basically what we're going to do is snowball 2 opposite corners. So we're going to snowball this corner, and then we'll take another one. I'm just folding this in half so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. And then we're going to do the opposite corner, straight across from each other, opposite corners. If you do it on the same corners, you're going to get a whole other block. So, which, you know, you could add a few other blocks in there if you wanted to. But anyway, that's essentially what it's going to look like. So let's do a few of these up. So I'm just going to line this up along the edges here, and I'm going to sew from this point to this point, corner to corner, right on. Well, if you folded it and you have a line there, you drew a line, you're going to sew right on that line. Like I said, I'm using my diagonal seam tape. So, all right, so if I flip this back and make sure that all of my edges meet here, I know I'm good. So then we're going to go right to the opposite corner here. And then sew diagonally, corner to corner. All right, so then if you flip these back, that is what your block's going to look like. So we are fixing to make a bunch of these. I did not count the squares. I just picked out 7 different fabrics because there's actually 7 blocks in this, and but I've got a bunch here. So let me get through these and see if I can put this on fast forward, and so you guys can kind of watch. So I'm still sewing these up, but I wanted to mention you do need 4 4-inch squares of the same print to make the block. So I don't remember, I haven't edited yet. I think I used 4 or 7 different layer cakes and just cut my 4-inch squares out of the layer cake. So like here is 2 of this print, and I've got 2 more of it down in here in the pile. But you need 4 4-inch squares of the same fabric to make the X block. Okay, so once you get all those sewn, the next thing we're going to do is press these open. And just make sure that they line up around the edges there. And if they do, you're good to go. Mine are good. So I'm just going to press them. I've got a couple here that we can do. And if they're just a little off, you know, you might can catch that in your 1/4 inch seam. If you feel like it's too much, just pull it out and just, you know, reset it. It's no big deal. I always just like to double check before I press in case I got to rip it out. All right, and then we're just going to trim off this extra bit that we got on the back here. I was going to use my rotary cutter, but I actually think scissors are going to be easier, and just leave a 1/4 inch seam allowance there. We're just going to reduce some of that bulk, and we're going to do that on all of our squares. Like I said, and you could use a rotary cutter, whatever you prefer. I find that scissors are just about as easy. So let's get all these cut up. Okay, so once we have all that done, then we're just going to make our X blocks. So the snowball is going to go to the inside, so you want this pointing to the outside. Same thing, the snowball is going to meet in the middle, pointing to the outside. The bottom's going to go down and out, and down and out, and that is our X block. So what I'm going to do is chain piece all of my blocks at one time. So I like to get all my fabrics that match together, and I'm going to just stack them up here so that when I in the right direction, then I can just pull from this stack as I go and get everything chain pieced pretty much all at one time. And here we go. Sorry about the parrots in the background. You guys know I have birds. They are noisy. Don't get a parrot. They make great pets though, really. So you could do more blocks on this if you wanted this runner to be longer. I don't know, I didn't look to see if she had the measurements in the pattern, but we will measure it once we get it all sewn together and see. So now, okay, here we go. The way that I do this, I'll pull these first two off. These two go together. I'm going to put those right sides together, and I'll stitch those. Then I'll pull the bottom two that go to those. Then the top two, bottom two, top two, just like that. I'll leave them in a stack here, and we'll sew them all together. Okay, so these are the first two, the two black ones that we had. And you may have to repress some of your seams to get them to nest. You know, on your snowball parts, which is usually, I just fold it back. It's usually no big deal. You can fix it, you know, press it good when you iron. Okay, so now I'm going to pull the two for the bottom that go to this that match, and just chain piece them through and line everything up. Okay, then I'm going to grab the two for the first block that are on the top for the next block. So I'm just chain piecing these through, so then when I get ready to cut these apart, these will still be attached. The next ones will still be attached. You'll see what I'm talking about. So let's see. We can do this. Get these sewn up here. I had to look to make sure I still had thread. But I might have ran out of bobbin thread. It's still there. Okay, these are the bottom pieces that go to this, to those top two that I just sewed. All right, and the next two for the next block are these two cute little blue chickens. one. Okay, so now when I go to clip these apart, I know these two are one block, so I'm going to leave them attached. I'm not going to clip them apart. I'm just going to clip them off of the chain. So that's one block. This is the next one. And just do it like that. That way they're still together in the correct order when I get ready to sew them. And it'll be easy to not get the directions mixed up on them. Okay? So here's the two black ones. All right, so now that they're still connected by a thread here, so now all I've got to do is flip this over on this one and stitch these together. 1/4 inch seam. I don't know if I mentioned that, but that's pretty much standard. And just try to mesh. I've been nesting and just readjusting my seams where my snowball corners are to get them to match. We'll see how good I did. And then the center seam, make one go one way, one go the other way. And then match these down here at the bottom. Okay. And there we go. And I did pretty good on my points for my snowballs. They all look really good. So I didn't get off too far. So great. All right. Okay, the last block. So let's get it stitched and then we'll get these all pressed up. Because you've got all these bias corners right here, you just need to be a little careful when you press. But I've been going from the back and just making sure, seeing where all my seams are laying, how I repositioned them, and just coming in and ironing those. And then I am using starch because it's gonna help, especially with all that stretchiness. So just a little on the back, and I'm going to just press my seams to one side, and then I am going to finger press and make sure everything is where I want it, and trying not to stretch anything. And then come in with the iron, and your edges and sides might be just a little wonky. We can trim those. You won't lose anything by trimming it. So the starch, though, definitely a must on these type blocks. Okay, so nice and flat. All right. So my blocks came out to, they should have come out 7.5, but they actually came out a little closer to 7.25, and some were almost 7.5 or a little over 7.5. So I trimmed everything up to 7 just to make it a nice even number. So let me pull this stuff off the wall, and now we're going to lay it out and see what we got. Okay, I should have had that pulled down, I know, but anyway. All right, so let's figure out how we want to lay these out. Now I know I want this black one in the very center, like so. Let's see, can y'all see that? Let me see if I can adjust this, or actually I'll just bring it down here a little further. So okay, all right, and then let's see here. I think I've got 2 chicken ones. I think I'll put these 2 flowers on, and it doesn't matter which way they go because they're an X. They go any way you want them to. And then I've got a red and a checkerboard. I'm going to put my chickens on the very end. Now, because the blocks are only 7, you want to decide how wide you want it. I'm going to put probably a 3-inch border. So we've got a little 1-inch strip that's going to go across here, and then however big you want your border to make your runner however big you want it. And this is going to be pretty long, just like it is here. So I think this is the pattern. Oops. I think this is the pattern I'm going to go with. I think it looks good. So let's get them all sewn together. Once we get them sewn together, we're going to take our little 1-inch strip. I cut mine at 1.5, but you can do it however you want. But then we're going to put that on the top and the bottom. Okay. Okay, so I changed it up a little bit. I took out 1 block, so I've just got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. I put a 1.5-inch sashing in between each of the blocks, which I like a whole lot better because it separates them and they just don't kind of run together. Let me see if I can get you a better camera angle. Yeah, so I like the way that they're separated. So this is just a 1.5-inch by 7-inch sashing on each one. I did it on the ends also. Then I added a 1.5-inch sashing to the top and the bottom. Now we're fixing to do our borders, but I did want to measure this because I left out a block, and in the pattern she says 50 inches, but I think I'm going to measure. I'm at 45.5 right now, so should be 9 by 9 inches. So if I add 3 inches here, or 3.5 and 3.5, that's 9, what, 12, 15. So that'll be about right, be about 15 inches. So you could go on your borders, you know, as big as you wanted to. In the pattern, she doesn't have ends on hers, but I'm going to add ends on mine. And I found this really pretty. I think this is like a grunge red, but I think this is going to look, yeah, I think that's going to look really good on there. I'll have to piece some of this together, but I think that will look good. It'll kind of make the colors are kind of muted, so it'll kind of make them pop out. And yeah, okay, so I'm going to sew my borders on, piece them together and sew my borders on, and then we'll see what it looks like once all finished. So I'm going to miter my binding, you know, my border. You can just, you know, put it together and sew straight and then open it up, but I'm going to go ahead and miter mine. And so I'm just going to show you how I do mine. So you've got one piece right side up. Here's the end, and I'm going to stick the second piece right side down, and I'm going to make a T. Okay, I do like to leave a little overhang here and a little overhang there, simply because unless you just want to really draw your line and do all this measuring and stuff, I don't like doing that. I'm going to sew, I'm going to turn this kind of sideways here, and I'm going to sew from this corner to where these two fabrics meet, to the junction right there. I'm going to start right there, back stitch, and come right down to here and back stitch. This way I don't have to measure. If you put it just like this, you can't see your corner on here, so you really would need to draw a line, and that means you're going to have to measure the width of your border, make a mark, and do all this stuff. I'm just going to leave a little overhang and just push this one up there. Make sure your fabrics are right side together. And I also noticed, depending on which way you want your miter to go, you want to make sure that your bottom fabric is off to your left, and then the top fabric is on there, like it's going to make a V. If you do it the other way, the angle is all wrong. At least it is for me. It never has turned out for me. So I always make it a point to just, I've got this little mantra here, and I'm going to back stitch. And then I'm using my diagonal seam tape down here so that I know I'm going to make a straight line, and I'm going to hit right where those two fabrics, that little intersection there. And back stitch. And since this is a border, you know, you definitely want to back stitch because you don't have any other seams before you quilt it. So then when you open it up, you've got this beautiful mitered border. It's just wonderful. So let me trim off this back. Leave a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And if you do it this way, you are going to have some little dog ears here that you're going to have to trim those off too, but it's no big deal. Just trim them off. And then you can press this open or to the side, however you want to do it. And yeah, so it matches up. You can probably see it better here in the light this way. But you can see, here's the miter. You can see that it matches on the edges just beautifully. So that's how I am doing my borders to piece them together. Okay, you guys, here it is, all finished. I really like the red on it. I wasn't sure if I was. I definitely love the sashing so that it actually makes it separated just a little bit. And because I use the chickens and the little farmhouse fabrics, it looks really cute. So I put a 3.5 inch border all the way around. This little inner border was 1.5 inches. So let's just see how big it ended up. So 51 3/4 inches long by 14 3/4 inches tall. So that's a great size for a table runner. I'm not sure how I'm going to quilt it yet, but I definitely love this one, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to put it back on this, and I'm going to quilt it, and it's going on my table. I really like the fabric. So let me see if I can get you up close so that you can see. There's the little chickens, the little sunflowers, this red, this is so cute, checkerboards, and then blue in the chickens. So yeah, so super cute, super fun. I'm going to try to set you back down without making everybody sick. Okay, so that was our March project. If you follow Peggy or want to follow me on Facebook, here we go. Peggy's Quilting Group. She also has a page called Peggy's Quilting because she does do custom not custom, edge-to-edge long arm quilting. So you can look those up on Facebook and be sure to post your projects. We would love to see them over there. The group's really laid back, low key. But yeah, and Peggy is always giving away stuff, so you want to definitely join in. But that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in April for our next project. Have a great day, guys. I was going to mention also, I know I deviated away from the pattern just a little bit. So if you wanted to do it exactly how the pattern is, there'll be written instructions that you can download in the description box. It's just what I do. I just, you know, it's all made of scraps basically. So you can just do you. Do it however you want to and however your little heart desires. If you want to do it just like hers in the pattern, which is really pretty. I like it. Could do it that way, or you could do it my way, or do it your own way. All right. Now have a great day. We'll see you guys next month.